So welcome everybody to the largest education festival in the world, the 37 days of live event, student university webinar season 4, Get Connected. And today we are on day 26. So we are getting closer to that number 37. And I hope each lesson that you had some learning, some value for yourself, and that must have taken something home in each of the webinar that you have attended. So it's wonderful. And without wasting much of a time, I would start today's presentation. Are you able to see my slide? Yes, thanks Mustafa for that, for the confirmation. So today there are going to be a few more slides, so more of content and less of talking, less of explanation. In case you have doubts, you can ask me and I'll try to answer them. So first, basically about Education Abroad Counseling Center. Education Abroad Counseling Center started in February 2000. Our vision is to educate the youth by providing them with study abroad career options worldwide. Our mission is to help 10 lakh high schools and graduate students achieve career growth using pre-application technology. So we are doing that through my educational guide, through the webinar, to providing free educational study abroad counseling to schools and colleges. We have counseled till date more than 13,500 students. The USP of our company is that we are one of those few study abroad counseling centers in the world who can do counseling for all major countries, all levels, starting from 7th grade to PhD, and all major programs. We provide guaranteed admission or we refund the counseling fees. This is because of the pre-application research that we provide on each of the students' profile. Having said that, today is not a letter of recommendation strength 1, it is letter of recommendation strength 2. Sorry for that. So let's go and discuss further. So in the first presentation, we learned about what is LOR. It's basically a professor-to-professor level communication about you as a student, your quality, your aptitude, your liking. These professors can recommend for admissions as well as for scholarships. So we understood that, and we then decided how you can get it. So there were basically pre-research, which you have to do to find out what the university requires, and accordingly get the LOR. And post research, you meet, basically you draft, you decide which professor you are going to meet, and then prepare a draft LOR and give your statement of purpose, LOR, statement of purpose, and resume, besides the list of universities you are going to apply. The important thing is you apply to you reach out to those professors who have time, who are ready to basically write LOR as you want, and who is approachable. So these are important parameters, rather than basically reaching out to someone who must be having a high title but is very busy and cannot meet your deadlines. If that person is reasonably available and can meet the deadlines, then definitely meet them. That will add value to your LOR as well. But whom to meet is very important. Now let's comes to today's part. What happens when professor tells you to draft LOR? Now, in my yesterday's, I told you about prepare a draft LOR, irrespective whether the professor tells you or not. Prepare a draft LOR that shows your proactiveness. It helps the professor, he can edit it and he can use it. So today we are going to talk about how to prepare the draft LOR. And I hope this is very important, because student always ask, sir, you tell us to prepare a draft LOR, but what to write in that draft LOR? So this is what you are going, the answer is. So it should answer the name of the recommender, the designation and title. So when you prepare a draft LOR and you give that, the professor will know that he has to mention his name, his designation, his title, how long the person knows you, okay, what subject has he or she taught you, okay, in which class or semester you must have taught you multiple times. So accordingly mention multiple times. So if this is your strength, then what is your academic ranking compared to your college or class? If this is not your strength, then you don't have to mention. Please understand, here, whether it is SOP or LOR, they are a sort of marketing documents, and you have to only guide what is your strength. What are your marks in the subject? Now, in case you have fed poorly, or you have got educational gap, or you have academics are very low, then probably your professor can basically give some valid reason for that. So that could justify sometimes. Okay. What academic qualities do you have which which makes you believe that you will be successfully complete the degree abroad? So the professor will basically, as a professor, you are writing it that that you possess basically creative writing, independent thinking, or any other qualities that you feel, okay, analytical skills or any other skills that the professor can tell that based on this you will be able to complete. It's not important only to give this quality, but he has to give an example why he feels that you have a creative thinking. So if he says that basically in the class he always basically tries to come out with something new, he tries to basically work on something new, or he thinks out of the box. In the last project that you had done in solar system, he tried to come out with so and so, which was a unique, which shows that he has a creative thinking. Okay, plus any independent thinking. So these things, if you show by example, then it will have a lot of value. The participation in class projects, assignments, if you have taken a national test, you can provide all these things if you have been graded on the project or your work is recognized. Now you don't, it's, remember, basically this is not a long LOR, it's a very short LOR. Lot of points are given because it's not necessary that you all points are applicable to you. So whichever points are applicable to you, use it to basically have a draft LOR. Now, besides this, you can write 5 short lines of yourself. This will depend upon which program you are going to apply. So if you are going to apply for management related programs, then you will talk about management related skills, which could be problem solving, leadership, interpersonal skills, team building, ability to work under stressful situation, time management, conflict resolutions, planning and resource management, negotiation skills. So the professor will tell that he is a problem solver. In the class when the project was on hold because of financial problem, he reached out to the corporate and got the funding for this project and was able to complete it. So so giving an example, he basically, you tell the professor is going to tell that how you are a problem solver. Remember, just mentioning problem solving will not solve it. It's about how you give an example that makes that problem solving valid. Okay, and take only 2 skills whichever you want, and that 2 skills you can explain it not more than 5 lines. Now if you are going for science or engineering related programs, you can talk about logical and creative thinking skills, the ability to think out of the box yet do things based on facts and figures, because science and engineering are based on facts and figures. Ability to do research independently, probably you can talk about ability to do research independently. Analytical skills, quality to be perfect and concise, ability to go to the root of the equation and problems. So these are some of the qualities, or you can Google it, or you can find more and you can mention it. 2 qualities of this in your LOR, not more than 5 lines. Or if you are going for art and education related skills, you can talk about your life skills, your interpersonal skills, your association with nature, your zeal to work for the betterment of society, your diligence and an eye for detail, ability to take criticism, knowledge of history, and communication skills. So the reason I have given this is because depending upon whatever you want, let's suppose you want to go into films, find out what are the skills that are required, and then try to put 2 of those skills in your LOR so that the LOR looks more concrete. It looks more solid. It looks like basically you are applying to the right program. Again, it should answer the following questions. Participation in co-curricular activities. So if you have done that, sports or drama or community service, you can mention it. If you have the certificate or anything, you want to highlight it, you can do it. But remember, I have put all those things not knowing which of this is applicable to you or your selling points. So I just want to basically make you think that this is also applicable. Okay, but it is not necessary that you have to mention all. Only mention those things that you find are very important. Keep it short. The word limit is 250 to 300, 350 words. Okay, so that is very important. You can't write a very long LOR, otherwise that LOR may not have so much of weightage. The reason is because they may understand that it is not written by a professor, because normally professors don't have so much of time to write a long LOR. Okay. Are you member of any association? If yes, give organization name, work you do, and your role in it. So if you are working for any NGO, you can mention that. In conclusion, write one line on why the person should recommend you for this degree. So that would be the line that I strongly recommend him because of his research aptitude, that he has, and I believe that he will be an asset to your university. That one line is good enough. If there is any additional information which I have missed, then do add it based on whether you find it as a selling point or not. Now, points to remember is, since you are going to write 3 LORs, or 4 LORs or 5 LORs, you are going to prepare a draft for different subjects, and you are going to give this draft. Understand that the structure, composition, writing style of each person are different. So when you are going to prepare a LOR, prepare accordingly, so that in case the professor basically tries to use your LOR, it should not reflect that these LORs are prepared by you. Okay, so it will not give a good picture, but these are prepared by the professor himself. So if the professor will use this draft to prepare their own LOR, that's wonderful. But if they are going to use your LOR, so try to have a different style for each of the LOR, because the way I present or the way you would present the same thing would be different. It will not match. So have that type of differentiation in your structure, composition, and writing style. You can even change the style or size of the font to make the LOR look different. Okay. Also important is it has to be on the letterhead of the school or letterhead of the college. If you're getting it from school or getting it from college, the signature has to be in original. So if all the LORs, in case normally you have in today's time, basically it's all online. So the professor will himself or herself upload. So it should not be a problem, but the signature has to be there in the LOR. Without the signature, it will not be valid. Get LOR from a person who will give you the LOR in way you want. Okay, who is not fussy, who is basically not writing a general LOR, who is not busy, who will not complete the LOR on time deadline. Don't write long LOR, as I've told you, 250 to 350 words. 350 words is maximum, 250 words is minimum. Keep the LOR within this range. What are the common problems? So the common problems is that some of the professors they basically spell the name of the student incorrectly. So see that your spelling is proper, because it will not look good. Your name will not match. Or they use multiple spellings in the LOR. So if that can be avoided, do avoid it, because keep one name constant in your LOR. Some uses nickname that was used in your college or in your school. Avoid using nicknames and use the legal name which is in the passport or in your mark sheet transcripts. The letter is typed on plain white paper, which is not acceptable. It should be on the letterhead. So mostly preferred is letterhead of the school, letterhead of the college. The letter is missing the date. So date is important factor when you're going to write the LOR. Okay, if you're going to upload the LOR. The letter is missing the writer's signature, the reference signature, and the contact information, your email ID, your mobile number. These things have to be mentioned. It lacks the proper appropriate evaluation form indicating the student's intention regarding the confidential status of the letter. Sometimes the professor goes gaga over the student and it doesn't look genuine. It has to be maintained that the professor is basically writing the student under a proper perspective, looking at all the merits and demerits and trying to be well balanced. So if that type of thing is not there in your in the LOR, then it will not add value. Okay, similarly, when you are going to write it, avoid trying to go all praise for yourself. It will not help. The letter contains unsupported, over-enthusiastic or general endorsement instead of offering useful, balanced and concrete insights. So, which I've mentioned you above, it has to be a balance. Don't try to boast yourself too much. Try to highlight things that are sellable, that you feel is highlighted, which can be used for your admission purpose and serve the purpose. But don't try to have too much of your things, or don't try to highlight too much, that don't try to be bigger than the institution that where you are studying. try to be try to make yourself valuable, but within a balanced approach. Now, finally, the 6 things of recommendation letters that is important is: one, it has to be typed on institution letterhead. If not, then teachers at letterhead. But preferred is always school letterhead or college letterhead. Okay, because teachers letterhead, sometimes basically the university, the foreign universities are a little uncomfortable. See that you have the date which I mentioned. It has to be signed in original by the recommender. Some of the schools basically they don't give letterhead, so sometimes you have to do photocopy of the letterheads. In which case, the signature has to be original in the photocopy. So take that. The stamp and seal of the institution has to be there in each of the letterhead. The teacher's full name and title has to be mentioned, and the official email ID. What is the official email ID? The school email ID, the college email ID. Okay. Some teachers or some professors use Gmail or Outlook email ID. The universities are a little not comfortable with such email IDs because anybody can create such email IDs. These email IDs are difficult to validate if they're authentic. And in that case, basically, they would do a counter check, and sometime basically this could be a problem. So all these things are important when you're going to write a letter of recommendations. I'm happy that I was able to complete it within the time. So I was that was the main factor, so that all things are explained. Now to tell you something more about the letter of recommendations is basically when you approach basically your professor or your teachers, you need to be important that you have their mobile number so that you can't approach them again and again, but you can call them up. The second is when they send the recommendation letters, ask them if they can give a copy of that. Okay, probably you will have a copy. Store that copy well, because anytime in future you can send an email to that professor with that letter of recommendation attached, and basically you can tell them that this was the letter of recommendation that you had given. I need one more of this letter of recommendation for so and so colleges. So the professor can look at that recommendation letter, can do the copy paste job, and can send it to somebody else. So it becomes easy for the professor once he has written it. He doesn't have to think again and again on for different colleges, for different universities. So do that. That would help. Third is when you are going to communicate on email, keep that email, because this email can also serve in future when you want to basically when you are in abroad US and you want to reach out to that professor, to that same email as a basically as continue part of that email, so that he remembers that you are that one of the student who had approached for the LOR, and to whom he had or she had provided the LOR, so that relationship is built. To write a trailing email to the email that you have sent. Don't delete those email. Keep it, because these are very important things that will help you in future when you are abroad and when you want to study further. Suppose you have gone for a bachelor's and now you want to go for a master's, and you may want that one professor to write the LOI again, and or you have gone for some PhD program and he is a research professor and you want to contact him again because you had done a wonderful research then, and you know that basically he will write a very good LOR. So keep that LOR, and most important, say thank you to your professor. Okay, we always forget. Basically, once the work is done, we forget. We easily forget. People we take things for granted. We believe that it is the professor's job to give the LOR. It is not his job. He is doing basically as an additional job, and he's happy to do that job. So it is also important if you send a thank you note or a thank you card, or basically maybe if you want to send some chocolate boxes, small. Don't spend much. I'm not telling you to spend much, but appreciate that professor has written for you. The professor will also like it, and then he would also remember you are better, and that will help you in future as well. So keeping that relationship is very important, which many students don't do. students go abroad, they forget. And keep your relationship, because you never know when you will need these people again. So with that, I end today's session of LOR. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did.